It is now the third week of the government shutdown as the Senate fails to advance the GOP funding bill for the 9th time. Joining us now to discuss is New York Congresswoman Claudia Tenney. Good morning to you, Congresswoman. Thanks for coming on.
Good morning, Jan.
You know, a lot of lawmakers on Capitol Hill believe that Democrats purposely keeping the government shut down because of the No Kings rallies planned for this weekend. What are you hearing? Does that mean they're going to open it back up after the weekend?
I mean, that's what we hear. I think it's a foolish decision. I mean, there's even evidence that some of the Democrats are trying to make this such a big deal that they think it's going to influence the decisions that have been made, and the fact that we have come to a huge compromise to put forward a continuing resolution at Biden level funding. I mean, this is not funding that was created by Democrat or by Republicans. This is Democrat funding that the Democrats have voted on numerous times. You know, and there's been evidence that the Democrats have reached out to organizations that are in the protest industry. You know, they bring paid protesters in, and they've rejected it because it's absurd. You know, the so-called No Kings rally. I mean, let's think about this. What does a king do? They issue edicts. They take away your freedom. And how ironic. What are we doing here? President Trump is actually taken a lot of these needless regulations, whether it's EPA under our great new leader, Lee Zeldin, and others, and given more freedom to Americans, to businesses, so that we can thrive. So what President Trump is doing is the opposite of what a king would do. And the Democrats said nothing in 4 years of the imperial presidency of Joe Biden, mostly under an auto pen. But all the rights taken away from people, cracking down on free speech, trying to interfere with social media and that is what a king does. Trump is doing the opposite. I mean, they're talking about free speech. We're talking about unnecessary regulations, making a more competitive marketplace. That's what freedom is about. That's what our country stands for. Yet they bring in Antifa, and they're you know, celebrating socialists like Zoran Mandami, who are about authoritarianism and restricting the rights of Americans, opposite of what our founders envisioned.
And how about what happened yesterday when they were demanding and chanting, some of the Congress members there, for Mike Johnson to swear in Adelita Grijalva from Arizona, swear her in as a congresswoman, yet they want to keep the government closed?
Yeah, I mean, this is absurd. It's more performance art, and I think they look kind of silly. Not quite as silly as the, you know, aging hippies riding into an ICE protest nude and on bicycles. I don't know who sat around in a group chat and thought of that terrible idea, but that's not persuasive. You know, a lot of these things they're doing are just performative. They're not actually coming to Washington, working with us. And look, and as Republicans, I serve on the Ways and Means Committee. I mean, what we did with the working families tax cuts was incredible, what we've done to help people. But guess what's happening? A lot of these key programs that have been implemented under that bill are not able to operate. And I toured farms and small businesses all this week in my district. They're struggling because they're on a hold with a lot of these key programs. And you know what, you know, Jan, I have the #5 dairy district in the entire Northeast. I also have the number 1 ag district in the Northeast. And this is hurting our farmers. It's hurting our business owners. It's hurting the people that want to actually, you know, build and invest in our communities under many of these great provisions, under low-income housing, the new markets tax credit, which I sponsored all in this bill. These are things that are getting hurt. And I will say one good thing. Yesterday, I ran into a couple of veterans and people serving. They were really grateful they got paid. They got their checks. And so thanks to President Trump for finding a creative way to make sure that our military isn't hurt, because this really hurts our readiness. You know, my son's also an active duty Marine. This hurts our readiness. This is a signal to our allies that we're not serious, that we're not going to continue to make sure that we provide the very best for our defense and for our security. And this undermines all of that. And yet Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries, who, by the way, both from New York City, both from New York State, both served in the New York State legislature. I think their leadership is showing that they're very poor, and they're setting a very bad tone and weakness for the Democrats going forward.
And how long can we sustain this? You know, as you said, thank goodness that we were able to get our service members paid, but that was this time. What about next time? And what do you say to those dairy farmers and those egg farmers in your state?
We're doing everything we can in our district. I'm certain, my constituents are reaching out to our office. We're helping them with all those issues, trying to get them through the gaps. We've actually put out programs to our military that was going to give them a chance to get loans in the event they didn't get paid. President Trump solved that problem. We also used the tariff money to make sure that a lot of our needy families got their WIC money, because that's going to be cut off, or was cut off. So, we're finding creative ways to fill this gap. But I mean, this is not, the shutdown is over their spending levels, not over what the future appropriations are. And so we're looking forward to getting that government underway. Let's get into conference committees where the appropriations bills have already been passed in the House. Let's get together and find out ways that we can actually serve the American people, not continue with these games and this performative art that is going on with the Democrats. It's not persuasive. I mean, I can drive by a No Kings rally and honk my horn all day, and they all raise their signs. Obviously, I don't support them, but they think that they're getting somewhere. This is the kind of absurdity of this AstroTurf type protesting. Yeah. Come to Washington, do the work. Don't sit there and protest Mike Johnson when he's not even in his office. There's no one more reasonable and more, more truly believing in our Constitution and doing the right thing for the American people than people like Mike Johnson, President Trump, Leader Thune. We are really trying to make this happen. We are not going to inflict pain on the American people. That's why we actually passed a continuing resolution to give us more time to work on these issues.
All right, New York Congresswoman Claudia Tenney, always a pleasure to have you on. Thanks for joining us this morning.
Thanks so much.
We appreciate it.